Hey guys, Joe Chavez here. So I wanted to do another how-to video. Remember the last one I did was on a UPS uninterruptible power supply. So this time I'm doing something a little bit more near and dear to my heart. I'm going to be working on one of my guitars. This is a Fender Eric Clapton Blackie replica model, not a super ultra expensive one. Okay, I don't have that kind of money, but I've had it now for I think I got it in the late 90s, but for the last 5 years or so I haven't played it too much. And so, you know, when you don't play a guitar for a while, things start going a little screwy on it. One of the things I first found out when I first pulled this out of the case is I wasn't getting any audio out of the pickups, and I couldn't figure it out. I thought, it's been sitting in the case. How would it, you know, not be working? Well, I didn't know a whole lot about the Fender lace sensors and the TBX electronics in it, but this has actually got a 9-volt battery back here underneath the trim cover. So I figured, okay, well, let's replace the battery since it's never been replaced in all the years that I've had it. Sure enough, fired right up, and I got volume. But then the other thing that I found out is it was making the most god-awful, crackling, screechy, really loud pops in my amp. And then I thought, oh great, so maybe I've got another wiring problem, but I don't think that's it. I don't think it has a wiring problem. What I do think it is it's got a bad volume pot, because every time I would just slightly touch it or move it back and forth or even just turn it up and down is when it would make the noise. So it has to be a volume pot issue. Now, most single coils take 250K pots. So I was about to go and order one, or at least go to the store and get one, but I thought, nah, you know what, I better find out exactly what this thing takes, because I don't want to get bit by that. Well, come to find out, on this particular model, this volume pot is only a 50K pot, and I actually found the schematic that lists all the specific parts, and I found out the actual part number for this. So I went onto Amazon and I actually found it. And this is it right here. So what I want to do is show you guys, I mean, for most advanced guitar players, this is probably a stupid video. You could probably just stop it now. But if you're relatively new, you haven't worked on too many guitars, you know, I know there's a lot of videos out there, and I just wanted to throw my hat into the ring and just kind of show you just a, you know, average Joe how to replace a volume pot in a Strat. So, you know, for this project, all you're really going to need is the new volume pot. You're going to need a small screwdriver, nothing tiny, but a small screwdriver to open up the pickguard here and take all these screws out. And then the fun part's going to be is you got to have a soldering gun. Now, for this particular project, you probably want one that looks like a pencil. This one might be overkill. My dad actually, this is a very old soldering gun that my dad had, and he let me borrow it for this particular project. It's got a small tip on it, which is really what you want. Ideally, you want one that looks like a pen, and it's got a really fine point tip on it, but this one should work. There are sites out there, or at least videos that recommend the specific kind of solder you're going to need. This is stuff that my dad's had around for a while. He used to be a mechanic. It's pretty thin, pretty light, but I mean, for this job, this is pretty much all I need. I'm not too concerned about it. So that's it. So let's bring you in close, and we're going to just kind of do this step by step, and you're going to do this along with me. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is, in order to get to this pickguard here, is we're going to want to take off these strings. Okay, so we've got all the strings loose. So let's go ahead now that the strings are out of the way, so now you have full access to the pickguard. And let's go ahead and just start taking these screws out one at a time. And when you get over to this section right here, I'll show you in just a minute as I pull this one off. There are 2 screws here for your 5-way switch. Don't mess with those. Just ignore them. They're actually a little bit bigger than the other screws. So you just want to bypass those and do the rest of them. Now as you get over to this side, especially when you get to right here, don't take that screw off. That's for your pickup height. You want to take out this one. And again, you can tell the difference. These are closer to the pickups, and these are a little bit bigger screws, the ones that are holding the pickguard. So take this one out. You should have a total of 8 of them. And we're taking out the last one here. Okay. Now that everything's out, at least on this particular model, the bottom of the neck here actually overlaps a little bit, so you can't just pull the pickguard straight up. What you want to do is start down here at the bottom. Okay, down here, gently lift it, and then ease it back a little bit. Okay, now that it's loose, all right, we're just gently going to lift it, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to show you guys the electronics. Bear with me for a moment as I figure this out here. Oh, here we go. This is the way to do it. Okay. The pickup, the pot that we're going to want to swap out is this one right here. Okay, guys, we're bringing in even tighter now. So I did a little poking around on this just to make sure of everything before I kind of get into it. So again, the part that we're replacing is this volume knob right here. Now, I'll be honest with you, this looks like a complicated jumbled mess. And so what I did before I'm getting started is I actually did a little quick video on my iPhone and just kind of explained that the green and white wires are all grouped together. They're all the green and whites coming from the pickups. They're all grouped together. They're soldered at this solder point right here. Then there is a green wire coming from the TBX circuit board here, and it looks like it's actually touching the, it's grouped here, but I don't like the way they wired this. But anyway, this one's actually going to the first post right over here. And then there are 2 black ground wires. They're attached here. And there is another ground going from this main tone circuit here, and that's being attached right here at this solder point. And then there is a white wire coming from the last tone control, and that's going to the middle. I don't know if you could see it there. See if I could turn it a little bit. It's going to the middle, or if I could show you what the new one looks like. It's going to the middle one right there. And then the last one on the far left, this one here, looks like they folded it back onto itself and they soldered it right to the back of the pot. So, you know, I'm not an electrician. I haven't done a whole lot of guitar wiring before. And this is kind of why it's a mess, and I think I'd rather just pay to have somebody do it. But you know what? I'm a big boy now. I need to learn this stuff on my own and just give it a shot. I don't know that I necessarily have the patience for it. Now, all that said, one of the things that I would probably do to supplement this video is you probably want to go online and put in your specific model and get a wiring diagram. That I think will help you in case we miss anything, because this is specific to this particular model. If you don't have this model, the wiring is going to be a little bit different. I think it's probably more complicated because I do have the TBX circuit board here. Let me move this up so you can see it. Right here. It's got the TBX circuit board in here, so that just adds a whole layer of complexity to this thing. But anyway, let's go ahead and see if we can get started and kind of take some of these wires off. So I got my handy dandy soldering gun here. And so the first group of wires I think I'm going to disconnect are this batch here, the green and whites. With solder, you know, you just kind of have to heat it up a little bit. And wire should come right off. There we go. Okay, they're off. I apologize if this isn't, if it's out of frame or my arm's blocking you, but what I'm taking off right now is one of these other ground wires that was on it. Here it comes. Come on, baby. There. Oh, actually all the ground wires just came off. Cool. Even better. Okay. Cool, those were all attached. Awesome. Okay, so those, you see that? Those are now out of the way. If you guys can see it, I don't know if you can, I'm cutting the green wire and I'm just gonna snip it. There. Easier than trying to unsolder it. And I'm not too worried about that one because the other ones are the ones that are soldered together. So now that that's done, let me get this one out of the way. I think for this white wire, I'm not going to cut it. I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can't just pull it out of the way here. All right, I'm just going to give it some heat here. There we go. Come on, baby. There we go. Okay. That one's out. Come on. There we go. Okay. The white one went in the middle. And so at this point, our volume knob is now free. Okay. So what I will do is come over here now on the front. There we go. All right. Volume knob's off. This is actually a 1/2-inch socket, so I just went and grabbed a little driver set, and this should just loosen it up. That's all I really need to do. Okay. And let me just come back underneath here, and I'm going to hold it while I take this nut off. Save the nut because you're going to need it. And out comes our little volume pot. So here's my new volume pot. I'll go ahead and push that post back onto itself. So you can see it. There we go. All right. So just like the original, and then what I'll do is I'm going to solder that post now to it, and then we're going to go ahead and warm it up here. All right, it's getting there. I think I just have to do it at a different angle here. Okay, so we've got our little volume pot. The little tab is now soldered onto itself right there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this reattached. First thing I'm going to do is I saved from the original. I had a little locking washer with some teeth on it and my nut. So I'm going to first put the little locking washer back onto the base of the volume pot here, onto the new one anyway. Come on. Okay. And so all we will do now is we're just going to feed this through, put it back in the same position that the other one was in, just to make it consistent. And I'll use 2 fingers there to hold it. All right, and then I'm going to come over here on the other side, and I'm going to just use my fingers and start the thread. There we go. With my finger, I'll do finger tight first, and then I'll finish it off with my 1/2-inch driver, the socket. And that should be good. Just need to make it snug. And there we are. Okay. So let's flip this back over. First thing I'm going to do is get my white wire here that was off to the last tone control. And I think I'm going to feed it underneath the yellow wire here. Okay, there we go. I got it right in. And I think what I'm going to do on the end is I'm just going to crimp it just a little bit, just to kind of, so it doesn't go anywhere when I resolder it. There we go. Okay. And we're going to start putting everything back together again. So here we go. Just being very careful not to touch any of the other wires. Hey, that was pretty good. That was quick. Wow. So my green wire, this one's going to go into the first post. So this one I will put through the last hole there. And let me just kind of get it back onto itself here, just so that it doesn't pop out. Probably won't, but let's just make sure. Okay. So now let's go ahead and get that green wire, which is going to the tone control module. Let's see if we can get this bad boy soldered on here. Being careful not to hit any of the other wires and strip them. Let's see how that came out. Now I'll move that out of the way a little bit. The tricky part here is getting them onto the pot with solder, basically with one hand. How am I going to do this? Put a little bead of solder. I think what I'm going to do now is I should be able to get this to attach now if I melt the solder, and then I can add more in just a second. There we go. All right. So there's more than one way to do this. This time I just added a bead of solder, even though it cooled a little bit, onto the volume pot, and then I just heated it up, and then it seems to be attached. It's all joined there. So I mean, we're good to go on that one. So we're probably going to have to do the same thing now for these ground wires, because they're just not going to stay in place on their own. I think we got it. Okay, we have all the wires attached in the same groups that they were. The solder joints, solder points anyway, are seem to be holding. No loose wires. So I believe we have it. is we're going to try to get this tucked in first. Oh, went in a lot easier this time. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to get this all put back together. I only tightened up the low E string because I just want to get a test before I get, put all the strings back on, and then of course it didn't work. So we're going to go ahead and give this a test. It's a little noisy, but it's also a little loud. The tone knobs work. Pickups work. Nice and clean. No more scratchy or anything else, any noise coming out of it. So I think we got it. There it is. That's how you replace a volume knob on a Strat, and you did it right with me. That's the first time I've ever done it myself. Hopefully that helps out some guys that are new that want to take on a do-it-yourself project. Hopefully it helps you guys out. So let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Talk to you guys later. Thanks so much.